Hey, what's going on again, guys? It's Rob McLennan back here, talking a little bit with my video blog series here. I'm going to talk some sports again today, and then there is going to be a Boxing Day Santa Anita opening day preview that comes up again shortly. We're just going to talk quickly in this segment about the World Juniors. We're going to talk a little bit quickly about a couple of the bowl games, and then we're going to preview the 17th week of the NFL. Big games coming up in the NFL. Obviously, there's 13 games that have playoff implications, 3 that don't. The Houston-Tennessee game, the Detroit mini game, and the Giants-Redskins. But other than that, the 13 games all matter for seeding or playoff spots. But we'll kick off just quickly, briefly mentioning about the World Juniors. The Canadian team kicks off their campaign on the Boxing Day, as they do every year. 6:30 in the morning Central Time. They play the Germans. They probably will win that game, but you know what? They're energetic against the Swiss. They looked even worse against the Swedes yesterday. They looked okay against the Finns day one, but this isn't a team that has superstars written all over them, and they don't look like those great World Junior Canadian teams of past. The Everleys and that run in the mid-2000s, it was just so dynamic. Crosby's and Jeff Carter's and like all those guys that were such World Junior greats. I really didn't like that Jonathan Drouin already had to be reprimanded by the coaching staff. I think the team really hasn't come together that well. It is early and they have a shot to come together. Obviously, they are going to be a tough team to beat, you know what? But this isn't the team that's made me feel, oh my God, we're going to win this for sure. The Canadian team's a little bit scary here. Just looking at the bowl games, obviously the ridiculous game that was Washington State, Colorado State. They blow a 15-point lead in the last 2.5 minutes with 3 fumbles. Obviously, Colorado State covers. The over was over in the third quarter, which was a good play. But I liked Washington State, and that was kind of a scary one. USC blew Fresno State out. I guess that was kind of predictable. I tried to go the other way. Buffalo didn't show up against San Diego State, and I'm kind of questioning how strong the MAC really is. And then the other result, you had Louisiana Lafayette winning over Tulane in a close game that I thought Louisiana Lafayette looked like they could blow out. They just seem to have no vertical attack. And then ECU kind of grinded down Ohio today, looking like the better team for Ruff and McNeil. They finally win a bowl game by 17. They covered, so we've got 2 wins from 5 so far. We probably should have 3 with the Cougars game. But now looking forward to the Hawaii Bowl tomorrow night. I had originally picked Boise State, and that's been a bit of an issue for me now. They've had the quarterback sent back to Boise for public urination, and now Oregon State's going to throw the ball over the field. The weather's supposed to be perfect. Thinking Oregon State's starting to become more of a play. I'm going to probably just watch the game just for fun, but Oregon State probably getting closer to a play for me now that Boise State is really starting to have some issues. After the loss of Chris Peterson, the poinsettia, I still really do think that Northern Illinois, even though the MAC's been weak, has a good shot to beat a Utah State team that hasn't seen a defense like this. Even though they stayed close against USC and Utah, those are dysfunctional teams at the points that Utah State saw them. The Little Caesars Bowl, I still like Pitt. Obviously, as we said, the MAC's been kind of bad. I'm hoping that Bowling Green is just a kind of a team that beat Northern Illinois, and that's about it. Because I think Pitt's played some really good games this year. And I think their front seven is going to be really tough for Bowling Green to get it going. Still like Maryland in the Military Bowl, still like Minnesota to win, and still like BYU to round up your coming bowl games till the end of the week. Now moving forward to the NFL, they kind of just released the spreads as I've seen them. It is Monday night, so it is a little early in the week. And obviously the Cardinals game wrapped up a few hours ago, the 49ers game. They play the Cardinals this week. So Carolina's 7.5-point favorites over Atlanta. I think Carolina absolutely massacres Atlanta. Atlanta had a shot to win today, and they kind of blew it with the late Ryan interception. Now they got to go back home on a short week, play a Carolina team that's in a playoff hunt. I think it's really on a roll, coming up a big win. This game won't be close. 3 touchdowns. It's kind of where I would think this game ends up 35-10, 28-7, like something like that. Like I don't think this game is going to be close at all. You get the Packers-Bears game. Obviously, there's no line out in the game already. With the injuries, you get Lacey, Rodgers, and Matthews for the Packers. All kind of questionable. Cutler is probable for the Bears, but he's going to start. You know that. And then Lance Briggs, only 1 assistant tackle. I'm a Bears fan. I'm not going to really comment on this game. You know who I'm going to root for. I got to think the Bears are going to be like a 1.5, 2.5-point favorite when they do set the line, but if Rodgers and Lacey and Matthews all don't play, or even two of the three don't play, I really think it's going to be tough for the Packers to get a W in Soldier Field. Houston, Tennessee's a pass for me. I think Pittsburgh dominates Cleveland as a 6.5-point favorite. Pittsburgh is still technically alive for a playoff spot and actually have a little bit of a chance to actually make it as the 8th seed. They can get a Cincy win and a Jets win, along with a KC win. That kind of, there's 3 losses they need, but they still have a shot. I think they'll take care of business. And Big Ben's looked really good the last 7 or 8 weeks now, so I don't think Cleveland's got much to play for, and I think Pittsburgh's kind of on a team on a roll. Giants, Washington, there's way too many injuries. You don't know if Eli's going to play the full game. You don't know which Kirk Cousins is going to show up. That's a pass. Baltimore, Cincy's a 5.5-point favorite. I think Baltimore was absolutely embarrassed on the weekend there. So now against the Patriots. Now Cincy comes off a win over the Vikings where they just kind of did what they were supposed to do. Cincy's 5.5-point favorites, and I think Baltimore is going to keep this game close. I'm going to say that Baltimore is probably going to lose this game, but I'm going to say Baltimore covers the 5.5. So I'm going to say this game is going to be 28-24, 24-20, 27-24, something in that score range of a field goal or 4 points here or there, where Baltimore keeps it close enough to be a shot to win, but I think Cincy gets it done, winning their division crown, and possibly knocking Baltimore right out of the playoff race. Indy, Jacksonville. Indy's going to win this football game. They're 11.5-point favorites. Don't think they're going to cover, though, because I think Indy's doesn't have a lot to play for. They kind of play down to their opponents. Look at the Rams game. You get the Texans' first game of the year. So the Colts, 11.5-point favorites, is kind of scary just because they never do seem to hold on. They win games, but they win them 24-16 against teams they should beat by 40. So I just take a little shot in the Jaguars, though. They have kind of slowed their momentum down. But I think they might be able to hold this game close. The Jets, Miami. Miami's a 6.5-point favorite. I love the Jets in this game. Coming off a win, I think their defense plays well. I think Miami was absolutely inept. Now they go home coming off a loss. And I don't think this is a team that's ready to win a game to make their playoffs. I think Rex Ryan's going to have this Jets defense all over Tannehill. Geno Smith, no turnovers in that game. I had the Browns defense in fantasy. I'm sitting here thinking, here's Geno Smith for 3 interceptions. I'm going to have a whole bunch of points. I'm going to have a great week. No. The Jets offense finally looks like it's starting to come together a little bit too late, and they'll cover the 6.5 for sure, if not win that football game outright. Detroit, Mini is a pass for me, but Mini is a 3.5-point favorite, really. They're horrible. It's just like Matt Castle is such a donkey. The Lions aren't much better. Actually, the Lions are a lot more talented, but it's whether Stafford and Megatron and that offensive line show up and how much pass rush you get, and Jim Schwartz, and the Lions are just kind of a calamity of errors sometimes, and that's a bit of an issue. But it is a pass, that game, for me. The Patriots and Bills. The Patriots 9.5-point favorites. Not quite sure what to do with this one because I think the Pats win. But it's another game where Buffalo played really good against Miami. Their defense isn't as bad as you think it is. They just don't get the press, and they don't win the football games because they really don't have the offense. I think that the Patriots win this football game, but 9.5 points is, again, it's New England, but they are the home favorite, and that's probably going to make the win by 2 touchdowns. So I would take New England, but I would take them not super heavy. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. I think New Orleans is absolutely reeling. Losses to Carolina. They lost to St. Louis the week before. Now they go home in a game they got to win to clinch, basically. I think Tampa gets to be a little scary here, just because Tampa hasn't played all that horribly as of late. And I think even though it's New Orleans in the Dome, they're not quite sure what they are anymore, because now they're sitting there thinking, oh, we've lost 2 in a row even though they're on the road. Now they go home. It's just like, can we still win at home? So I think Tampa hangs around and keeps this close. Otherwise, it's breezed by 40. But if it's not breezed by 40, it's going to be Tampa losing by 3 or 6 or even winning this football game. Denver's 13.5-point favorites in Oakland. I think this is just Manning's coronation. I think he throws for 500 yards and sets the all-time passing yards record in the season. Already set the touchdown record, and the Raiders defense probably couldn't stop a high school offense the way it's going right about now. The 49ers, I think, beat Arizona in a game that I know a couple of friends are going to. They're 3.5-point favorites, San Fran, in Arizona right now. And I just think San Fran knows how to win these games, and Arizona probably doesn't. Case in point tonight. Arizona, even though they beat Seattle, now they got to do it again. They got to get loaded up again. But now for a totally different team. I think San Fran's really clicking on all weapons, and you can't expect Vernon Davis to be a ghost 2 weeks in a row. So I think San Fran wins that game. I think the Chargers and KC is an interesting one that I'm going to pass on. I just can't see there a point being. KC's, who knows what they're going to play for starters. I think they're a better team, and they did lose to San Diego early in the year, so they're going to want to try to beat them. But with San Diego coming off a couple of good wins, you're going to get them having a shot to win to make the playoffs. But you got a KC team that's definitely more talented, so it's a bit of an interesting one. I'll wait and see what Andy Reid has to say about that game. And then the last two games on the docket, Seattle throttles St. Louis. I think Seattle off a loss is the scariest thing that could ever happen for the Rams. Excuse me. I think Pete Carroll rips this team a new one, and they don't lose 2 in a row at home, and I think they blow the St. Louis team out of the water. I think this game could be like 38-6. Like this could be Russell Wilson having a field day. And that brings us to the last game of the week, the 7:30 Sunday nighter. Philly-Dallas, it was announced today Romo won't play. Romo was not that bad. They're talking a number never lie. He's 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in games the Cowboys lost this year. Maybe the numbers do lie sometimes, and he's caused some of those losses. But he's a big part of this team. And the Philly team comes off a huge win against a Bears team that looked so inferior and so frustrating. But Philly now goes into Dallas. They lost to Dallas earlier in the year. Now this offense is really cooking. You got Jackson, you've got McCoy spreading the field, you've got Cooper, and you've got all these other options and weapons, and Foles is playing awesome. Now you're going to get a Dallas team that finally won a game they were supposed to win, but had to be challenged, and they stepped up to the challenge and they played well. They beat Washington. They held their own. Even though it was Kirk Cousins, it still is a win. You're going to get Kyle Orton, who's okay, a quarterback with some experience and some ability. He's not the next Aaron Rodgers. He's not a superstar. But Kyle Orton, he's been around long enough to hold this team in a game. You just got to get the ball to Dez and Jason Witten, and you give the ball to Murray, and this team's been good when Murray gets the ball. So maybe at home, Jerry gets his wish and keeps this game close. I think the Eagles still win it, but for NBC sake and all the fans, I think Philly lets the Cowboys stick around, and the Cowboys cover the 7.5. Don't know about who's going to win the game. Probably Roger tells me the Eagles, but I have a feeling the Cowboys pull off this massive upset where it will be now and get to the playoffs, and maybe it's time to turn it around for the Cowboys, because I think that they learned their lesson after the big collapse. Even though they flirted with Washington losing, even though this defense has so many holes in it, I think this team, this might be what the team needs to come together. But this is just a real shot in the pan with that one. So that's my little opinion on the 17th week of the NFL. Lots of big games. I've been 4-1 the last 2 weeks. If you've seen the picks I posted on Up in Class, stupid Bears last week kind of cost me. I was 4-0 going to that game. Gonna probably throw another 5 up there. I'd look for them Saturday night sometime. I'm trying to go 4-1 or even 5-0 for once. Thanks for tuning in here, and have a Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you on the other side. And good night.